Hmm? Ah!
And you're unconscious. And then, you wake up and then you look around and things look different. And you see people around you that you don't recognize. You look over and you see there's a little gnome, this little guy with his little hat and his brim and his purple eyes. And you look over and you see this girl is a 6 foot, 7 foot demon girl.
Podcast Junkies, episode 154. Welcome back. My name is Harry Duran, host of said show. Thank you so much for joining us. First-time listeners and those that have been there from episode 1. I know there's some of you that fall into that category, and I am always eternally grateful. And given that we are in the holiday season, this is one of the last few ones of the year. And there's a lot to be grateful for. It's been an interesting year for my business, for my podcast. And I think 2017 has been the year of learning lessons, I think, and understanding how I can grow both as a podcaster and as an entrepreneur. So first off, thanks to my family, my wife, Natalie, our dog, Disco, and through the ups and downs of this show, their support has been incredibly helpful. In January, it'll be 2 years that I'll be doing my business full-time as well. So there's so many interesting things that have happened, so many amazing connections I've made over the years. And I just want to take this moment to thank you, the regular listeners, for coming along on this journey. I know this intro may be a little bit longer than usual, but I'm speaking to you directly, you listening right now. Thank you so much for being part of the Podcast Junkies family. Thank you for allowing me to share these amazing conversations over the past year with these podcasters. Some of them are veterans. Some of them have been doing it 10 years plus. And some have been doing it for a couple of months. And I'm excited because they both show the gamut of the experience that is podcasting. I felt like I was going to use the word diaspora, but I don't think I'm using it correctly, so I'm not. Diaspora, sorry. So I hope you had an equally fulfilling year as a podcaster or as a podcast fan, and I hope you've got some great things planned for the new year. So happy holidays to all, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, whatever it is you celebrate, wherever it is that you find yourself in these next couple of weeks. I hope you're in the company of loved ones and you recharge and energize yourself to start the new year off amazingly well. I'm excited about the things that we've got planned, and there's some interesting guests that are going to kick off the new year that only could have happened through my podcast. So I'm really excited to bring those to you. So in case you missed last week, we spoke to Eric Trules, formerly Professor Eric Trules, and who likes to be known as Trules. And he's the host of E-Travels with E-Trules. And I got to play a little snip. I actually played the whole episode of one of his episodes from his podcast at the end of mine last week. So if you haven't heard it, it's amazing. It's podcastjunkies.com/153. And that's our interview followed by his episode. And I've been getting a lot of good feedback. And I love introducing great podcasters to this family because I just am fascinated by just the gamut of podcasting that's out there. I connected with someone who has a bird watching podcast, and she's agreed to come on the show. We literally connected on Twitter. I was just fascinated by the idea of that. I caught a little snippet of it. She plays recordings of the birds, and it was so meditative when I was listening to it. So stay tuned for that. This week we speak to David Steele. David and I met at MapCon, and you'll notice a trend there. A lot of great people coming out of that meeting at MapCon, and David was no different. We have a great conversation. We talk about how he turned to podcasts as a source of information early on. We share a mutual love of DJing, and that's always something I love talking about. There's this interest his kids had in board games, which introduced him to the world of D&D, otherwise known as Dungeons and Dragons. And that's the origin story for Quest for Magic and Steele. It's very interesting because it's a way for him to bond closer with his kids. And it's great because they're now included in the podcast production. And now he's got a new show called Ark City. We talk about how he started there and how it's different, and the work that he's doing with actors, voice actors for that show as well. We talk about his podcast workflow, and we do get a little insight into the first season of Ark City. He's got a couple of sci-fi book recommendations, and he talks about where he draws his inspiration from. So always a wide-ranging conversation with my guests, and this week is no different. This episode is brought to you by Podbean. Head on over to podbean.com/podcastjunkies to sign up for a new hosting account. And if you do, let me know. And what I'm doing as we wrap up the year is offering a free hour of coaching for anyone that signs up through Podbean. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to walk you through it. But Podbean is great. It's got all the features you need for podcasting. It's got website builders, a fully featured podcast site, unlimited storage and bandwidth, search engine optimized, reliable cloud hosting. You can even get your own domain and branding if you'd like, and plans start as low as $9 a month. So can't say enough good things about the partnership I have with Podbean, and I'm super honored that they're continuing to be a supporter of the show. Podbean.com/podcastjunkies. Stay tuned to the end of the episode where I reveal this week's retention hashtag. Have fun. This is going to be a nice conversation. A nice conversation. Who says that? This is going to be a rip-roaringly fun conversation with my friend David. Oh yeah, I don't know if anyone puts Easter eggs at the end of their intros, but I just realized I had the fan on for most of that intro, but it was good stuff, so I'm not going to record it. But I just want you to know that I was aware. See ya on the other side. So David Steele, host of Quest for Magic and Steele and Ark City, thank you so much for joining me on Podcast Junkies.
It is my pleasure to be here, sir.
So listeners will know the drill. A little bit of context. We met at MapCon. And
Yes.
I always harp on the importance of getting out there in the real world. I don't know at what age you're allowed to not use the IRL or emojis, but I think that's always funny. But it makes sense. Like, we can't always hide or stay in our houses and stay behind screens. At some point, if we do want to engage with the podcasting community, we got to get out there. We got to go to conferences. We got to go to meetups. And I'm wondering if you've had the same experience.
Oh, absolutely. I'm actually going to what is it? Podcast Movement is the one coming up in Philly for the first time.
Yes.
Because that's where I'm from, the Philadelphia area.
Perfect.
And I'm real excited because MapCon is the only one that I've been to. And I want to go to every one. I don't have the money to go all over the country. But yeah, I love it. I mean, I went there. I was a brand new podcaster 2 years ago. Went to that, and I was just amazed with all the cool people. Just sitting in, like, I learned a lot before I started, but just going there, meeting with other fellow peers, it was amazing. And I mean, yeah, I had even meeting you this year because I've been listening to your show, and before that, it was Dave Jackson. I was listening to his show, and I was like starstruck. Oh my God, it's him! That's funny, seeing these people in person.
So what's your earliest recollection of listening to or being aware of the podcasting medium?
Oh, yes. This is a great story I love to tell. So here I am. I drive a lot for work. I have an iPhone. I've had it since the second iteration.
Iteration.
Iteration, that's the word. I knew it was wrong, but yeah, good. So I had it, whatever it was, 3S or whatever the heck came after the first three. And I got into jailbreaking it and learned how to use it, and I was pretty tech savvy, that kind of stuff. But I never heard of podcasts, and I know it wasn't on it originally. So I always hated regular radio anyway from the get. And when I drive, I would listen to audiobooks. I'd have CDs, I'd have my little MP3 player, and I would just constantly listen to audiobooks and maybe some commercial-free radio. Got Sirius Satellite when that came out, that kind of stuff. Then one day I'm following a band. It was Grace Potter and the Nocturnals. And I happened to click on a link on my phone, looking on the website, and there was an interview thing where they have them live in the studio at some radio station. And it was a link to you could listen to the show. So I clicked it. It opened up this iTunes podcast thing. I'm like, what is this? I was kind of scared because I'm like, iTunes, every time I've gone in there, they charge you. I've bought music on there. And I'm thinking, well, I don't want to pay for it. I mean, it's not that exciting. So anyway, I clicked on it. It was free. I started listening, and then this podcast player had opened up in it. whatever year that was. I guess it was, I don't know, maybe 2014
Mm-hmm.
or 15, somewhere around there. And I was amazed. And then I started searching. Just, oh my God, look at this. And there was just everything, all these podcasts about everything you could think of. And it was just, I started downloading a bunch of stuff and I subscribed. I just started figuring out, hands on, and I just fell in love with it. And that's all I listen to now. So, but around that time, my daughter was playing, her and her boyfriend, and we always play tabletop games. And they started playing D&D. It was new to them, and I never played. Growing up in the '80s, I always heard about it, but I never played it. And so I said, "Hey, how come we don't play that?" So we started playing D&D at home, a little session. So then, of course, because I just started listening to podcasts, hey, let me search D&D because I'm a noob, and let me learn how to play it and learn all the rules. So I found a couple shows on there, and the one I have to shout out that was my original was Critical Hit. It's not the popular Critical Role. It was Critical Hit. Was the original guys, and they taught me how to play. I downloaded every show, went back to their first show, and they've been doing it for a while. And I know they had like, I don't know, 100 and something shows that were already on there, and it was just a blast learning. So that, and I'm going to keep on talking. I apologize, but yeah, that's how I got started and fell in love with it, and then that just rolled into, hey, we can do a podcast.
So there's a lot of good points that you brought up there. And what's interesting is the fact that when you wanted to get more information, you immediately thought of this new medium that you had discovered, podcasting. Why was that?
Well, I mean, that's actually anything. When I do things, I search everything. I have audiobooks. I'll go to look for books. I go into my Kindle and I'll search out books in the library or Barnes and Noble, whatever is online. And I try to soak up as much information as I can. So one of the things was when I started going into podcasting or searching podcasts, I noticed that there was all these shows. I typed in podcasts. I found these podcasts. I think the first one I found was Podcaster Studio. It was Ray Ortega's show. Yeah. And then that led me to finding everybody else, in this medium. And so I realized, this little, I mean, I got into the iTunes podcast player, and what do they call Apple Podcast now? They call it, I think, right? They changed it. So I just, by searching in there, I figured out how to work it because it's a little clunky, especially for a noob, But I'm technically savvy. I mean, I've been into PCs, computers. I've had Macs, and I've taken them apart, I repair them, do websites. So I kind of had a general handle on how to get into those things. So I got in the app and I figured it out, and I found a little search bar, and I realized you could type in anything, any word, any subject. Comedy, sports, any genre, and find things. And it's just natural for me how I did that. And so I started searching for D&D, and that's how I found these shows.
Have you, I didn't check, because the two searchable fields in iTunes are the title and the author. So I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, I know when I've tested it searching for my show.
Okay.
I've done it. I've searched for D&D and mine comes up because I just have, I guess, the SEO right. I have it in my title. Good. And but searching for names, I never did that. But I do tell people if they're looking for my show, just type Magic and Steele and it pops up. But yeah, I just never I didn't even know any of the shows, so it was just searching by the genre or whatever I was looking for and found those shows. Luckily.
Do you find that you're able to consume more content because of the nature of it being audio and it's very mobile and sort of on the go?
Oh, with no doubt. I mean, that is my preferred thing. Video, my kids are on the YouTube, and it's like, even I love YouTube. I mean, if I'm down and sitting at my desk, if I want to search, it's amazing, that world of YouTube. Oh my gosh, I want to know how to do this. I have to put a new screen on my laptop. It just broke. Boom, YouTube tells me how to do it. I'm ripping apart iPads and my iPhone. I crack the screen. It's amazing. Just like whoop, and then step-by-step instructions. It's crazy. Yeah. Anything you want to do, or plumbing in the house, whatever. I forgot something. How do you do that again? Just look it up on YouTube. Yeah, amazing. So, but that time of video, I'm always on the run. Driving a lot for work. The audio medium is just fantastic. I love it. Love it.
And so, what were some of the challenges you were experiencing when you first started? I think it's April 2016 when you started the show. How did you know what to do? Because there's obviously podcasts about podcasting as well. So I'm wondering if that's the path.
Yes. Oh, totally. I just, before I even thought of it, I mean, I've always done audio just since high school. I was in a band singing. I had my own PA, transferred that to DJing. I got it to a small mobile kit. Then when I stopped DJing, I started getting into voiceover, and that's a whole nother story. But so I made a little studio, a little private studio, sound, not soundproofed, but sound dampened, and so I could do have my nice condenser mic. And with that too, I read books about it, and I searched. I even found some podcasts about it, actually, because it's all the same time before I even thought about doing a podcast. There's a few podcast shows that I listen to that actually aren't around anymore, but reading books and doing that. And then when I decided, I started thinking, listening to the D&D in particular is what got me fired up, because I need a creative outlet. That's just the person I am. And by listening to the D&D show, the one I listened to, they were great guys, critical hit, awesome, informative. They play the game, but I was lacking the entertainment value. They didn't do the character voices as much. There was one guy that did a little bit, but it was more so playing the game and kind of learning it and kind of dry. So I'm thinking, what I wish I had a show that I would enjoy listening to, and I'm thinking, what the heck? I can do this. My kids are all hams like me. Yeah. They're all older. I'm thinking, we played D&D a little bit. Let's start doing it. So I was in my head. So I got together with all my kids. I have 5 kids. So I got together, 4 girls, 1 boy. I said, let's have a family meeting because Dad's getting crazy now. You guys listen. Here's this podcast. You guys know what podcasts are? A couple of them like, oh, yeah, I listen to them. A couple of them, have no clue. They all have smartphones, though. So I had to show them how to do it. And I said, well, listen, I want to do this podcast thing. I think and they all got fired up, and we had this idea of doing oh no, let me back up. Yeah, because before I actually had the meeting, you asked about how I even got started with that. I started searching before I even told them. I said, let me get some research done. I had a couple books I downloaded on my Kindle, and I forget exactly what they were at this moment. But I do remember by listening to Ray Ortega, Podcaster Studio. Podcaster Studio, and then he also has the Podcasters Roundtable. But I found, you have to help me here, Cliff Ravenscraft, is that right?
Yeah, Cliff's actually scheduled to come on the show, so that's
awesome. Yeah, so he was podcast answer man. I heard him on Ray's show. It was actually a couple years back, and it was an older, because I was going through his old catalog, and heard him on there, so I started listening to him, and then heard Daniel J. Lewis, so I went and started listening to his stuff. And then I finally found Dave Jackson. He was the last one in the group of the triumphant, or the quad, whatever you want to call it, and learning, just listening to their stuff. And then, of course, even searching in the iTunes or any podcast player, searching in there for their shows. Now I had their whole catalog. I could go in and look and say, okay, here's something about feeds. Here's something about how to go, find a host. Man, and microphones. And I went crazy and just researched everything, because, again, that's my way. I'm a psycho in that. I want to have all the knowledge before I jump, because I've done stuff in the past where I didn't have all that information, and then you go and you're halfway through and you're like, oh, damn it, I wish I did this, or I wish I apologize for that. I wish I went back, knew that. I wish I started the network name, or I wish I got that name, that domain that we wanted. We're already started with it, and I don't have it. And oh man, why'd I wait? That kind of stuff. So.
Lots of good stuff there. I think it's interesting because you mentioned, I just keep listening to the things you're saying, and you mentioned that you need to have this creative outlet, and it sounds like your whole life, has that been the case your whole life, that you always dabble in these things? We share the DJ passion. I don't know if you can see the turntables behind me.
Oh, awesome. Old school.
Vinyl in the 1200s.
Yes.
So every time someone mentions DJ, I'm like, oh, my ears perk up. I've dragged speakers to gigs.
Oh my gosh, right?
I've had vinyl in milk crates, and it's just
and the mobile stuff's a godsend. Like it's easy now. It's crazy.
I have the old laptop in the back there, running Tractor. I don't do it as much as I'd love to, but you also touched on, I think, being in a band. So can you talk a little bit about your creative journey and when that started?
Sure. Yeah. Gosh, I don't remember the first time. I remember middle school. Actually, I don't know why I thought of this. It might have been one of your interviews. You know what? I think it was an interview you just did with Pat.
Oh, okay.
What's his last name?
Pat Flynn.
What's his last name? Pat Flynn. Yeah. You talked about his past or his stuff that happened to him.
Yeah, he's a band.
So it got me thinking. First time I did something, or that I can remember how far back, and I think I remembered middle school. I did a talent show. I was going to sing. I was in choir since, I don't know, maybe 6th grade. I just love singing, that I remember doing that, being so scared and just embarrassed, and I didn't do it again for a while. But then I guess freshman year, I started martial arts, and that's my martial arts journey. I started building confidence and was more just like, I don't care what people think, kind of became aware of myself and just kind of like, you know what? I should be proud of what I can do and not be embarrassed or think I'm a little punk to let people tease me because I'm in choir. I didn't care. So I started having this different mindset. And so then I joined the play. It was the musical. It was Hello Dolly, my freshman year. So I was a background singer. I was a waiter. Hello Dolly. And then I joined a band. I don't know, ninth, 10th grade, somewhere through high school. Two bands I was in. I remember one my senior year. It was called The Panic because that was in the 80s, 86. So it was kind of a new wave type thing. We did covers. And then I got the lead in the musical for The Hobbit. I played Bilbo Baggins in The Hobbit. Yeah, it was a blast. And it's so funny seeing the movies come out now. And I have pictures in my yearbook of me standing there with a sword fighting this big paper mache dragon. It's amazing.
That's
but
great.
yeah, so yeah, just the bands. I did some Christian rock bands. I did, got married, started having kids. Again, working, just kind of, 9 to 5 job and daily, doing my thing. But I always need that creative outlet. So then I remember joining a wedding band for a while. That got me into doing the DJ thing. And the DJ thing was easier. So I did that for years because when it became mobile, worked for a company, still did some singing. I remember singing a couple weddings. So I offered that as well. I liked weddings the most. I did some kid parties because I was able to get out there and dance and show the kids the dances. And as a matter of fact, a couple of my older kids, I brought them with me as assistants and had fun with that. And then, again, so again, getting I had a martial arts studio in the early 2000s, and we had to close that just, financially, just wasn't making it. So that was kind of a little depressing, and I was like, oh man, that was my creative outlet at that point. And then kind of just went to a slump, for about a year, and just kind of was just working, put my head down, provide for my family, kind of deal. And then inside of me, I'm like, you know what? I'm missing something. What is it? Oh yeah, duh, my creative outlet. Stupid. Go find something, anything. So I decided to get into voiceover, and I got to give a shout out to Gravy for the Brain. It's awesome. You can look them up online. They're from the UK.
Mm-hmm.
They have some United States stuff, and I think it was on Groupon or Link or what do you call that? Living Social or something. They had some offer for this voiceover class, and it was like $100 or something. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. What the heck, So and then bam, that just started. I'm like, oh my god, okay, there's this whole world voiceover. I love doing voices and acting stupid. Reading books to my kids when they were little and acting the voices out and all. So I'm like, let me give it a try. So I started doing that for a couple of years, and then bam, the podcasting thing came up. So one thing rolled into another.
It's interesting how all of the things sort of like play into each other, right? Because there's, in podcast, if you're creative, then it just makes for a more engaging show. Obviously, it helps that if you have a good voice. The other thing that I really love was this idea of using a podcast as a family bonding experience.
Oh yeah.
What's that been like?
Yeah, it's incredible actually. It's super cool because now they're older, and we started it when they were older, but the oldest one moved out. The second one, they're going to college, but they're local, thank God. So I get to see them all the time. So at least we get this one day a week we get to get together. And like I said in the beginning, we had a meeting. Once I figured out how we had to do this, I knew we had to get the website domains. We were going to have to set up because we talked about it. And we said we had all these ideas of podcasts we want to do. Interview show. We want to do this ad lib improv show. We want to do the D&D thing. I had this drama I wanted to do. I had this idea of it, but didn't want to do that yet because it's a lot of work. I've never done anything like that. So I said, okay, well let's start with the D&D one because we're already doing it. That'll be the easiest one to do. And then man, we get together. We have this. I'd flip the camera around if I could, but I'll move the whole thing and probably disconnect you. I have 6 seats around this. It's a dining room table down in my furnished basement. I put up some moving blankets. I have temporary pieces of timber that I put up that I can take down because the wife will kill me if I take over the whole basement. We have a couch and some chairs, and I have the boom stands and some desk boom arms, and figured out how to do that finally. Our first episode, we had all mics handheld. Oh, it was terrible. It's still up. I edited it like crazy.
Yeah, of course.
All the moves, my my daughter's boyfriend, he's so bad. You can hear the thing moving constantly. And anyway, that was a fun journey. But yeah, every morning, man, we do it on Sunday mornings. She brings Dunkin' Donuts on her way over. We have our coffee and the kids get the donuts, and then we start. And I'll tell you, it's funny because we try to record for about an hour. Lately it's been maybe a half-hour show that I've gotten out of it because we're just rapping. We miss each other. We just start talking and having a laugh. So I have plenty of bonus takeout stuff that I put up once in a while.
Yeah, it's oh man, it's such an interesting experience, and I don't know, had you ever thought or have you ever done anything before where you had an opportunity to just engage with your family and sort of bring them into your world and you stepped into their world, and that's how you found out like about D&D. So I just love a lot of aspects of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, since they were little, I mean, I could get into talking about parenting and all that too. Even before we had kids, I had this mindset of how I wanted to raise my kids. I wanted to have 10 kids. I mean, I was like insane. The wife was like, "Oh, heck no." After number 5, she's like, "That's it. I'm done." Okay, that's fine. So, and this happened to be number 5 was the boy. So it's kind of, people always say, "Oh, you waited until you got the boy?" Nah.
It sounds like you were already thinking about your podcast production troupe.
Yes, yeah. Either a basketball team or or a podcast troupe. Right.
I think you were aiming to get on Family Feud.
There you go. Absolutely. Yeah, any of those family shows, right? But yeah, it's just we've done stuff together as when we were kids. I used to read to them Harry Potter series, man. And, it was perfect timing with them as they were growing up. I'd got every book and I'd read through it, do the voices. We'd sit around in the living room, shut off the TV, every night, like after school, take an hour. It was just fantastic. And playing games, board top games, these like European style ones, these newer ones that, they're doing at the conferences a lot, and started learning about all these different games. And then my oldest and her boyfriend, they got into it, went crazy with it. So they'd go to all the shows and they were buying these different new games. And that's when, again, they went away to college for the first year and found out about D&D, and that's how that started. So yeah, it's awesome.
Well, it's interesting. This I don't know if it's a revival, or a steady interest in actual games that you can touch with your hands and board games, and the fact that you're marrying like this digital technology podcasting, but you're referencing something that's like old school. And I played a little bit with my brother. My younger brother got me into it a little bit, like D&D, and I always thought it was great because it's this idea of using literally like your just imagination and creating these worlds that didn't exist before, and every single game is going to be different. And I know a couple of friends, I think that still that are still playing it. It's really exciting to see that everything doesn't have to move into digital, right? We're not going to be in like virtual reality at some point. There's still some hope that people like the fact that we can have something that we can touch with our hands.
Yeah, and I like what I like about D&D is there's so many renditions of it, so many offshoots of it. There's gosh, I don't even know them all because I'm the noob still. Really, we're playing the 5th edition, which is the latest, newest edition. Okay. They go 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5, whatever, and 5 is the latest one that came out. There's Pathfinder. There's all these different types with dice. And games that they shoot off, these different companies that make all these different campaigns. And I just love it that you can, however you want to play your style. I'll play I went to a few conferences, gaming conferences, and I didn't enjoy the game at D&D that I've loved doing it here with my family. Mm-hmm. And I had a lousy time playing it with a few people because they were into it for the stats. Like they were just with their head down. They weren't doing voices. They weren't doing the entertainment part of it. I'm like, oh man, this is boring.
Okay.
Like I can't stand it. Even playing board games, I don't like Monopoly. Ugh, I'm bored to death. I want fast paced. I want I want to be able to play co-op together. You can do that with a lot of games, but certain ones. So it's cool that because some people are into the other side of it, they're not extrovert enough. They can't, loosen up and do the voices and have fun with that or act out another character. For me, and I know my kids, that's the amazing part of it that we like. So for us, it's cool. For other people, it could be whatever they want. So it's good for everybody. When we did our show, I told them too, and they jumped on board right away. I said, listen, this is going to be geared toward the listener. So we're not just sitting around playing this game. We have to focus on the microphone. I want us to get right on there so they can hear us. We're going to improv off of each other. So my daughter Amara, the oldest one, she's the one that runs the show. She's the game master.
Okay.
She has this general idea in her head of the main story, and it took us a year to get through the first campaign, season 1.
Wow.
And she just starts and says, okay, here's what's happening. And we introduce our characters, and then she gives us a kind of, okay, you're in this forest. That's how season 1 starts. And you guys are going along, you're in your own town, and all of a sudden, and she gets a little moody, gets close to the mic, you hear this wind in your head, and whoosh, and then you go and you faint. Unconscious, and then you wake up, and then you look around and things look different, and you see people around you that you don't recognize. You look over and you see there's a little gnome, this little guy with his little hat and his brim and his purple eyes, and you look over and you see this girl is a 6 foot, 7 foot demon girl with this long tail, and then you see this human, and then now we're here sitting around together. We got transported into this other world, and then she says, okay, go. What do you do? And so we're just like, hello. And my daughter does this one voice. She's like, hi, I'm Chandala. And she starts acting. She's kind of goofy. And I'm like, hello, my name is Nunu. Welcome. Oh, does anyone know how we got here? I don't know. Where did we? Who are you? And the one guy's, my son is the Aeschylus. He's the fighter, human male. He draws his sword. He pulls it out. He's like, who are you? What are you people doing here? Why am I here? He has his voice. And so we just did that on our own. There's no script. And so it's a blast. We're bouncing off each other. And then my daughter, eventually she jumps in and she's controlling the game. And she's, okay, here's what's happened next. You hear this noise over here, and then we react. Who goes there? And then we just do whatever. And it's so cool because my daughter Amara that runs the Game Master, so she reacts to us as well. Yeah. So that's why it takes so long. We mess up her basic storyline every week, and we'll throw something in, we'll do something else, and she just runs with it. And we talk about it afterwards. Like, she's like, I had no clue. I had to make up different monsters that are going to, because you guys went totally off path, and then it's a blast. It ends up being hilarious. So we're having a great time with it.
And you must have some guidelines about when to cut it off, because you can't. I mean, obviously these campaigns, they ran for a year, and you can't have episodes that run for 4 or 5 hours. So
yeah, we plan on, because she works. I usually work the night before, like all night. I'm up, I'm exhausted. So she has about an hour that we figure on, and she has to go to work herself. So we kind of have a set time that we can all meet there, and then we just run with it. And then we get to we look at the clock, it's getting close to the end, and she'll just say, okay, and we're going to close there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm the host, so I grab the mic again. Thank you very much for joining us. A quest for Magic and Steele, brought to you by the Steele Empire. And then you can find us at, give us our whole rundown. And then we end the show. Little music goes out. And then next week, I start the show. I always, when I edit it, it says last time on Magic and Steele, and then you just get a bunch of clips. So I just pick out some crazy, like, oh my God, what's over there? I didn't do that, and it just clip. So if you're not a listener, it sounds insane, But if you listen to all the shows, oh yeah, that was last week. I remember that. Oh my God, it was so funny. And I just pull out all that stuff, and then it goes in. Hey, welcome back, guys. Thanks. We're here to. If you're new, go back, to the beginning and figure out who we are, and then otherwise just jump in and join the journey, and then we go. Hand things over to, we might talk about whatever's going on currently that day. Oh, we're going to the movies, we're going to see the Avengers or whatever. And okay, all right guys, here we go. And then she takes over. Okay, here you are, you're in the woods, and then that's how we go.
It's so interesting because you're essentially creating an audio drama on the fly.
Yeah, totally. And that's what I enjoy about it. That's the fun, and that's actually my audio pleasure too. That's the shows I want to listen to, stuff like that.
What's been the feedback?
It's been real good. I mean, it's not huge though. Yeah. Like, I found when we started this, I again started searching other D&D shows. I'm like, what are other people doing? Right away, my first year, I'm thinking, oh my God, what are my numbers? Like everybody, I guess I hear, and I've heard them on your show. Everybody wants to know their stats. Go to Blueberry, Libsyn, whatever. Oh my God, what's my stats? And what am I doing? Every day they're checking it, whatever. How many downloads? How many listens? And then if you got any comments or feedback. So I started looking at other shows, and I found one show that I really love was The Adventure Zone. It's so funny. These guys have been podcasting for a while. They have some other shows they do. McElroy, I think is the name. The family, they're 3 brothers, and their father does this Adventure Zone, and they do what I like. They do all voices, well, mostly voices. There's a couple of them, and they're on the fly. Great story. The storyteller is awesome. And I'm like, yeah, this is the kind of show I want. So that's what I was doing, the same thing. So I'm like, yeah, that's right on. And I know they're having a huge success. So I'm happy with it. I started back once I went to the first MapCon.
Yeah.
I realized, you know what? It doesn't matter. It's just what you're getting out of it. If you're enjoying it and you're putting out quality entertainment. And I also realized too that, hey, we're brand new. This stuff is evergreen. Our show, people can go back, and I've noticed that's what's happening. It's been so cool. I mean, I have a lot of listeners in Germany. I have people hit me up on Twitter, and Twitter is huge for us. We're bang, 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 back and forth talking, and I try to stay really on top of that and interact with people. And the D&D community is insane on Twitter. It's really cool. And I'll have people reach out to me. Hey, I love your show. I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? Thanks. And I'm like, he's some guy in Germany. I'm sorry for my English. And he gives me this great review on iTunes. I'm like, wow, that's so cool. It's just so neat. And man, looking at the numbers, you see people in China list down your shit. It's like, wow, it's insane. I mean, nothing like the numbers in the UK or America, but it's still neat to see that. So I'm happy with the way it's going. Of course, I'd love to be, totally hugely popular and get, over 10,000 downloads for every episode, as it comes out. But we're about when the episodes come out. I mean, we're under 1,000, but we get many hundreds that download right away, and then the other, they're over 1,000. I mean, after how long we've been doing it. But that's cool for me.
I always like to remind people of the median numbers that Libsyn puts out on their podcast, the feed. So I always listen to it because I want to know what it is. And I think now it's because of the adjustments in the stats reporting. If you're getting 160 downloads within the first 30 days, you're doing better than 50% of all podcasts.
Yeah.
And then I think the number's now 1,200 or 1,300, you're doing better than 80% of podcasts. So the fact that you're getting close to 1,000 means you're doing really well.
Right.
And again, it's not something like, I think if you're getting an engaged audience that's providing you feedback, that's really, really what's important, because at the end of the day, that's what's matter. That's what's tangible. As much as you'd like to say, it's nice to have 10,000 fans, like who are they? Like, do you connect with them? Do you know who they are? Do you know their names? I know names of like my super fans, and that's more important to me because they're the ones that I'm speaking to day in and day out. And I'm sure it's the same with you, because now you have those, you can't help but have those people that listen in Germany, for example, in the back of your mind when you're telling your stories. You're like, okay, we got to have our A game on. We got to entertain,
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. And that's so true, and the mindset changes like from the beginning, and you're hearing all these people, even online on Facebook and the groups, and new people are so worried about this. I want to be on New and Noteworthy. You know what? You finally especially going to the conferences, that's the cool thing too. You get with these other peers and these people like you that have been doing it forever, and your journey and how you started. It's amazing. You learn like, oh, okay, this is cool. And especially going in the second year, and now I started this other one.
Mm-hmm.
It's so cool because I feel like, I have something under my belt. It's like I'm more experienced and I'm not worried about my goal, and especially listening to a lot of people. There's a lot of people that I've heard are more entrepreneurial. They're into it, trying to make money or sell their stuff. And I'm thinking, well, that's not me. I mean, I'm just an entertainer. And I'm thinking, hey, don't get me wrong. I want to get to the point where we can make some money on this. I'd love to quit my day job and just do this full time entertaining. We have a goal to go on Twitch and do it live stream, just like the big guys, Critical Role does it. So we can record it and then put it out on the audio, and you can make money doing that. And there's just a whole bunch of stuff we can do. But I'm still working full time, doing that. This is a lot of work and energy and mind energy to make it good and quality. So I'm just enjoying the journey.
I think what's important, David, is the fact that it is a passion project. And so the time that you do have, like, you're really giving it your all. And I think that's why it stands out as a quality product, because you take pride in it, and the fact that this is really something that's that you're getting enjoyment of, that you have, like, all these skill sets that you had in the past have now been magically brought together for you to be able, because you had to be creative, you had to know technology, you had to have some cast members in for your show. So it's kind of like all these little pieces coming together, which is what I love so much. But you touched on the new show, Ark City. So let's talk about that.
Oh, yeah. So it's an amazing story. I had this before we even started this podcast thing. Always had this story. Thought about maybe making a YouTube video, like a mini movie, but that just wasn't my thing. So once we started the podcasting thing in the middle of year one, maybe 3 months, 6 months in, I've talked to my one daughter, wrote scripts in high school. She was in the media group. She does the sound for like the musicals when they do their stuff at the high school. And they're very creative. So my two oldest daughters, I got together with them and said, listen, I have this idea I'm thinking we could do for another podcast. I want to get started on it just because I don't have the creativity part of writing the script or taking this vast idea I have and smushing it down into something that can become a book or an audio book kind of deal. So we had a little meeting with the two of us, and we're talking about it, and we started banging out some ideas. And Ark City wasn't brought up yet, the name, but we started going with, okay, well, I had this idea of I want a guy that so when people listen to it, the fans that listen to it as podcast player in their podcast player, it's this guy, and it's his first person experience. So as they're listening to it, he like wakes up somewhere and he has this recorder he finds. So let's say an H4n, the Zoom thing or whatever. He finds something recorder, either it's attached to him, it's on the watch like the Apple thing. It might be a little bit more in the future or whatever. Something happens, or maybe
embedded or something.
Yeah. However, right. So I wasn't sure what the idea that, but somehow it's recording. So whenever he turns it on, or it's just automatically always recording, and he's not sure. So we'd start out like, is this thing recording me, or am I broadcasting live? Who's listening? I don't know. Hello, test, and kind of bang on it. And then basically there's a bunch of experience that he goes on in life. And I had the idea it would be kind of post-apocalyptic, like maybe, things happen. He went down a bomb shelter and he woke up, comes out, and, and from there. And that's kind of all I had, really, the general idea. We talked about it. They went crazy with some of the ideas that there's aliens and you can have this. And we started talking about, and my one daughter was saying this alien tech that's kind of around his arm that he wakes up with it. What the heck is this? And I'm thinking, wait, that's like Cowboys and Aliens was a movie. And the guy wakes up with this thing on his arm. He was actually taken and he didn't know what it was. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. That's cool. And it could even later on, he finds out how to use it. It becomes a weapon, and like, oh, that's great. So we started going with all these ideas. Then here's a kicker though that got me really where, okay, now it's time to get to production. I had a fan who does the After Six podcast, Adam Christopher and his buddy. They got this show, and he was always a good fan of ours with the Magic and Steele show, and he would do these shout outs on Twitter. He would do, I think he called it a beer run, and he would listen to our show live and be tweeting like, oh my God, I can't believe this just happened. Rashandra just fell in a ditch. Oh my God. And he just stabbed her right through the belly, whatever. And he'll be typing it in. And it's so cool that it's a real neat idea. So we became friends online. We never met. And Facebook friends, blah, blah, blah. Back and forth, we chat. He actually did an interview with me on his show. Yeah. He interviewed with another guy I know. And ended up being one day I was looking on his Facebook page and it said writer. I said, what? So I hit him up. I said, listen, dude, I had this idea. I'm not a writer, so I need somebody who wants to kind of put it into a screenplay kind of thing. And I know you're probably busy, but if you have any interest, hey, let me know, could use your help, whatever. And I don't know what that means, writer, what you're talking about, if you're just going to school, if you're writing books or whatever. So blah, blah, blah. He went crazy. We got on the telephone. He's like, oh my God, I love you guys. I love the Steele Empire. I love everything you do. Quality. You got your voices. I'm with it. I so want to be part of this. And he got me so fired up.
Nice, of course.
We had a conference call, him and my two daughters, and we went crazy. He has such an imagination, and he made up the name Ark City. I think it was him or I don't know. But he's my writer. So he's written the scripts. We just brainstorm, these ideas come out, and he puts it to paper for me. Well, on computer for me in doc format, and he gets these ideas, and I'll go, oh, you know what, this doesn't kind of flow. I throw it back to him. Okay, no problem. And the collaboration is awesome. He just, he's in it to win it and just kind of make it the best thing possible. And he throws it at me, and I get it, and I just go in my studio and say, okay, this is how I envision it. And I've been going nuts with it, with the sounds and trying to make the mood of whatever room I'm in. And basically, Ark City is a post-apocalyptic first-person thing where it is kind of like this end of world thing. I don't want to give too much out of why or what happened, but basically there's these cities, and each country, the big world powers, made these cities because things were happening, which you'll find out later because it didn't happen yet in my show, so I can't say. Yeah. But things happen that make it where the population is being decimated. Okay. So they got these. There was another movie about it. Was like there's these ships.
There's been a lot of apocalyptic.
Yeah, it's kind of like these arcs. They made these actual boats, and they'd get people, like the president was on there and scientists. So they collect, the smartest people or the good looking people to whatever, or the rich people to procreate and keep humanity going. And it ends up being they make these Ark cities all around the world. And now we're established in the American one, which happens to be over top of Area 51 in Nevada, the UFO sightings place. So there's like this underground bunker and this whole world down there. But we built whoever runs Ark City built it. They built this big city with houses on top, kind of like a, just a regular town. Yeah. And they'd bring in people. You're invited or you've been chosen to join Ark City. And they bring these people in. And then we happen to be myself. I'm the lead character, who's Nathan Alexander, and his wife, Karen Alexander. We're brought in because we're scientists. She's the lead scientist on this program. And that's kind of where we're at in Ark City. And now I ended up Nathan ended up undergoing this surgical procedure that he wasn't expected to do. She was the one that was going to do it. It ended up being him. And you kind of don't know why or how that happened yet. It's still unfolding, and it's this part. Can I still ramble? I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course.
This part here where we're at. There's 5 episodes out. Number 6 is actually coming out today, and you find out the whole first season. You're finding out why and why it's him and what happened. The whole thing's unfolding, and it's the coolest part of this is we're making the website interactive. And there's going to be a little RPG game that's going to give you information that has to do with the podcast. And so you can go on the website, and he actually talks about logging in. So if you listen to the show, if you're a super fan, and you go into the computer and you find this, and actually if you go and click on in Ark City, you find the menu button, you click on audio files, it opens up, this terminal pops up. It looks like it's hacked. Wow. And it says, "Hey, this is Nathan. Thank you found this. I was able to hack into Ark City files." And that's how you actually have to listen to the show, or going from there. And it actually has a phone number. People, and I've actually had people call already. They call and they're like, "Hey Nathan, or always out loud," because that's part of the show. It's so cool. I'm so excited because it just started. I just imagine that's going to be the huge part of it, that it's interactive. So
that interactivity is so cool, and it's so interesting because a lot of times, naturally, it's not one of those podcasts you can listen to while washing the dishes or walking the dog, because then you're like, oh my God, I gotta go do something.
You'll miss everything.
But it is a little different, and the fact that you engage, like you get people to. I love this idea of Easter eggs and treasure hunts. I grew up on the Goonies, and so like we love that shit. Like it's like, man, like what if I did this, and if I found something that someone doesn't know about, and like if I did something one time where I was engaging with. I met some friends, and I wanted to create a nice, like, thank you letter, and I was just going to write a note. I wrote a note and I said, "Hey, thanks for connecting with me." And in the note, I gave him like a URL, and the URL was the second part of the thank you, and it was a YouTube video.
Oh, that's awesome. Of you?
Of me, and like, "Hey, back here for part 2 of the thank you. By the way, if you look on the note, there's like a number of dots in the crease of the envelope, and if you take that number and add it to this URL, that's the last part of the message." And so it was like this
fantastic.
I just had this brainstorm. I was walking around one day, and I was like, let's see if they'll do it. And then they did it, and then they get to the final one. And then I'm like, "Okay, if you made it, just let me know. Just shoot me a note in the Facebook Messenger or something like that." And they're like, "I did it," or they showed up the card and they were like, "Made it to the end." And it was just like a little bit of a treasure hunt, but it was just fun because it's something like, okay, as opposed to just saying like, sending a regular thank you. Just
hey, that is an awesome idea. I'm gonna steal that. Yeah, that we could use that in the show too. Yeah. That is so cool. The Easter egg hunt with the numbers on the URL. That is awesome. It's done. Yeah,
if you start engaging like this, the physical stuff, maybe there's something you can do with like the postal mail or something with that. Totally. You can use a tool like Zapier or IFTT to automate. I don't know if you've seen these websites, but they automate things. So if people send an email with something in the subject to a specific email, it'll automatically send them whatever you want to send them. And so you can send them to a website, and then you can create a website that just for this with some crazy funky URL that no one will ever find. But the only way you find it is by sending an email.
Yes, that is fantastic.
So yeah, just
definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That sounds interesting. It's so cool. I gotta make time for it and get caught up. Have there been challenges because now you're dealing with a scripted series, and you're dealing with talent, and you're dealing with scheduling and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, it's brand new for me. Doing the voiceover stuff has been a godsend since I did that before. So I've
Yeah.
already been editing, and I've already been doing my voice. So I learned how to edit and do some mixed stuff. And I did a somebody again through our show. They found out about us, and they have a comic book, online comic book thing, and it was real short. And I said, hey, well, how about I do a little audio podcast thing for that? Like, we'll do the sound for it. I'll make it come alive. So I actually did that, and it's on our website, Steele Empire. And I have it on there for him. So it's kind of like, and we didn't do anything. It was for no money. It was for me to practice and mess around with it and do some voices and sound effects. And for him, it's another way for his listeners. They can be reading the comic and listening to the audio played back. And it was a lot of fun doing that. So that was a cool experience. And then I was kind of ready for this. But again, I'm not a professional. There's guys, I found these website groups online on Facebook that are spectacular. And I'm slowly learning more. I'm like, oh man, I should be doing this or that.
Yeah.
The way to do EQ and different surround sound stuff that I'm totally brand new to that stuff. But it's been cool because I have a couple of voices. I tell you, just being online, even with the MapCon people, learning, finding the PDC and these other podcast groups, and now I'm on your group too, finally. But there's so many good podcasting groups, and you get to interact and find out good stuff. I posted on there, hey, I'm starting this new show. Anybody's interested, I'm going to start another, Steele Empire audio drama. And you can just send me a message, and if you want to do a voice for me or whatever, just for fun, I'm not paying anybody. If it makes money, absolutely, pay you off for helping out. But, if you just want to come in and have some fun, be a part of it, I'll give you links to your shows or whatever. And I had a ton of feedback. I mean, for me, it was like, it was like 70 people or something. They were like, Kim, hey, yeah. I'm like, oh my God, I got swamped. I was like,
I believe I submitted my name, but I just got lost. I mean, I got lost, and a lot of things came up, so I didn't follow up.
Totally. That's all right. And it's fine. And so I got just a ton of people. It was so cool. Just that people that were able to join that page was like, oh my God, this is so neat. They fired me up more. Then I went to these other audio drama places, and you could put up auditions, and I found some real good voice talent. And I've been able to record them and get them to do it on their own place because they have their own setup. Yeah. And they've sent me this stuff, so I'm all ready for that prior to even putting it out. So luckily, the beginning of this, it's been me and my daughter did one. So it's been local stuff myself in-house. It's been easy. I have the other stuff ready to finish season 1, so I'm kind of ahead of the game. So that hasn't been much of a burden. The main thing I think is just being creative in the studio by myself. I mean, you're in there isolated. I do like to get out and be around, learning and getting out and doing stuff with my kids. And plus, you're working. Just started going back to the gym. Hoorah! Trying to lose some weight.
Congrats.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I just joined this great gym near me. It's just I'm so fired up this week. I've just been going every day. They have aqua and the physical. It's been great. Anyway, sorry. Just real excited about that. That's part of my journey. So anyway, but getting in the studio, and so I have the script. I'll pre-do the script. I'll read all the script lines, and I've redone them a couple times. I'll get all emotional. I'll be like, oh my gosh, what is that? What is that over there? What's going on? And I don't like the way that sounds. I have my headphones on, my studio speakers. I'll listen to it different ways. And then I finally get it. It sounds good. Then I just start slapping it into different tracks, the multi-track, and then I'll add some sound effects, music, background, whatever. And I'm thinking, okay, well, he's in this. He's actually in this headspace. He's not even in a real physical room yet. In the beginning, these first few episodes, up to episode 6 right now, the first season, a lot of it, he's actually almost like in a coma. He's in this cryotube thing, and he's not even awake yet. So a lot of stuff's going on in his brain, and the AI computer trying to wake him up and doing stuff. So that's what's going on in this first season. And listeners kind of hopefully we'll figure that out as it unfolds. It's just like a movie, you start watching, you're like, who's the bad guy? I don't know. It's going to thought it was him, but it's the other. So it's like that, which is kind of exciting as well. And it's funny because being on the outside of it, me and the writer, Adam Christopher, we know because we're putting it out. And then I'm thinking when I go to produce it, man, they're going to have any idea? They're going to be like, what is this? And then not even listen to it. So it's kind of hard. You want to keep that, but then you also want to keep them interested. But then you want to keep the drama and the uncertainty going. So it's been tough with that. So
where do you get your sci-fi or your inspiration from? Like, because it sounds like you're drawing on a lot of influences, either from books or movies or.
Yeah, man. I tell you what. I mean, I read a ton of books. Now I haven't been reading as much. I have my Kindle that I carry with me everywhere. for when I have time. I'm sitting in the doctor's office, I pop it out. But I love, even at work when I had some sitting when I wasn't driving, and if I had downtime, I just open my book. I just love fantasy. I love fantasy stuff, sci-fi stuff. Like loved Star Wars growing up. Anything like that. Anything out of the real world. I mean, I love transporting myself again because of the why D&D. I like just thinking about being in other worlds and just changing what's going. You know, I live everyday life. I'm in reality doing my thing, but then I get this chance to step out and become something else, or be part of another world and transfix. You know, movies I've watched and the books, and it's just there's so many. And it's funny because I'm not stealing any ideas. Like when we do this, it's totally out of our brain. But obviously, we're influenced by all this stuff.
Yeah,
so
of course.
we come up with these ideas. I'm like, oh my god, that's Cowboys versus aliens. Oh my gosh, that's video games. That's Halo. You know, these enhanced humans. Oh my gosh, that's Fallout. You know, this kind of world. Of, like so it's just I've experienced all that, so it affects what this world we're creating.
What are some books that you recommend for people new to the space?
Oh my gosh, just some of my favorites that I've recommended to my kids. Well, the Sword of Truth series was great. It's like, man, 13 books.
Wow.
There's a problem with it though. The author, every book, he rehashes like the first 3 chapters is talking about what you already read in book 1. So annoying. So I find myself just flipping through. It's just crazy. It's like, why does he do that?
That's just filler at that point, right?
Oh my! It's so annoying. It makes me mental. Like because there's authors that don't do that. You know, hey, this is volume 2. Guess what? You better go back and read volume 1. And so you don't have to, like his books, you can just pick up book 12 and you're like, because he's going to give you all the background information, which is crazy. But that's a great fun. It actually gets a little graphic. It's not for younger kids. It's some crazy stuff, just killing, and it's pretty graphic about how they do it. But there's magic, and it's kind of like Lord of the Rings type stuff. Yeah. But some other fun ones. The Iron Druid, I think it's called, and that's a fun thing. There's this druid that lived back, I don't know how many thousands of years ago. So he has magic. He's connected to the earth with these tattoos, but he's alive now. He's like the last one. He drinks this herbal tea or something that keeps him alive, keeps him young. So he's this young-looking 20-something redhead guy with this goatee living in modern world. So it's neat. Nice. Another one, modern world, is the Dresden Files. Love it. It's there was even a TV show. Not that great, but
it sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, the Dresden Files was a game, but a lot of good. That's got probably 10, 13 books as well. But it's a sorcerer. It's magic in the real world. He's a detective. You get, hey, I lost my daughter, was kidnapped. Something. Okay, give me something of hers, I'll find it. And he's using sorcery magic, and he finds stuff for people. He ends up working with a police officer in his town, and then it gets crazy. There's werewolves and vampires. It's insane, but it's fun. It's fun. It's great humor. I mean, the way that the author does that.
You mentioned tattoos, so I had to ask about the couple that I've seen flashed on the screen as you move your arms.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
What are those about? What's the story there?
Yeah, my dad was tattooed. He had a couple tattoos growing up. I ended up getting my first martial arts tattoo when I was 17. I got my black belt. My dad and I both got it.
What type of martial arts?
It was hard style, Tang Soo Do, Korean karate.
Okay.
Similar to Taekwondo, a lot of kicks.
Yeah.
That was the first style that we've done. And then we had a tattoo. You get after your black belt initiation where you beat the crap out of you. You get hit with the stick and beat, and it was insane. The next day, you go and get your tattoo. Yeah. So we got them. We both got them on our right forearm. And then right then I got that. It just started my hunger. I wanted tattoos. It's crazy. People it's true. You want to get these tattoos once you start. And it's not like a weird, like I like pain. I hate it. I actually don't like sitting there dealing with it. But then I started getting these. I got this other one was my wife. It's a heart. And then I have like a metal chains going down. I added my kids. It's like a scroll.
Nice.
And my kids' names are all the way going down. Once I had my last child, she said, that's it. No more kids. I had the guy fill it in with flowers. So that's that one.
Beautiful.
Other martial arts, when I had my karate school, I got a yin yang one. I have a dragon going around down into my chest. And a couple ones on my legs too. Just martial arts stuff. And when people get tattoos, even a couple of my older kids are talking about they wanted to get a little one. I said, there's so many people who have stupid tattoos and they regret it. And that's, thank God, for me, it's been, I want something that I know I'm going to have forever. You got to be smart, like anything. Yeah. If you really want to do it, remember, it's going to be on you for life. And you get old and wrinkly, that's going to be looking funky. So just be aware of that. and make sure it has meaning to you.
Yeah.
Make sure it's something special. And if it is, then cool, go for it. Because you don't want to get some stupid cartoon character. I mean, I guess if you're a sports fan, I see people with the sports teams. I'm like, ugh,
Or the
really? Do you
or the,
play
or the,
for
or the,
them?
the Shamrock or
Yeah, I mean, hey, cool, you're Irish. I guess if you're, some people have that mind space where that's their thing.
Yeah.
Even the sports things, like your home team. Like,
yeah,
yo,
that's a little too much.
I'll watch but that's their thing, though. Just like, I don't know. Would I get a podcasting mic on my chest? Maybe. I don't know.
But is it going to be their thing forever? I waited. When I was in my 40s already, and we were leaving New York, and so I have only one that's on my arm, and it's of a visionary artist. His name is Alex Gray. So I kind of designed something that I wanted that was similar, using his as an inspiration. So, and it was like 4.5 hours. It was definitely the most painful things I've ever done.
Yes,
but it has a lot of meaning to me, and it's just like, selectively picking. Eventually I'll probably get something on the other arm, but just like, to your point, I think it's so much more significant when it means something to you.
Oh, totally. And then even you have a story behind it. It's not just some mess on your full body art where it's just you can't even see what they are.
Yeah.
Someone asks you, "Oh, that's so cool. What is that?" Oh, hey, well, let me show you. It's pretty neat. It's just like, it's just like art. Like, let me show you some pictures on my phone. Same thing.
Totally.
It's what the heck was I going to say? I totally forget now. And I'm just about tattoos. So it doesn't matter, I guess.
No, it's interesting because I love like where these conversations go, and I don't know. I didn't know we were going to talk about half the stuff we talked about because I think it just speaks to all the varied interests you have. And how well-rounded, and how as podcasters, like we have a variety of interests, and we didn't all get to podcasting through the same path. And I think your path is unique, unique from the other 150 plus folks I've spoken to, and that's what I love. And just I love being surprised, I love being entertained, and I love seeing all the cool things that people are doing with podcasting. So thank you for sharing all those stories.
Yeah, man. Of course. Thank you for having me. And I love your show because it's different than all these other shows. And it right away when I heard your voice, it was funny when I met you because I didn't expect the way you looked. I never saw you. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's him. Because you're just so laid back, this hippie style. You're like, hey, what's up, dude? I'm just picturing this big hippie, long hair. I picture you taller. I just see this guy like, hey, what's up? In sandals,
Jesus,
and then I see you
man.
in there. Yeah, totally. You got that attitude.
You're like describing like, Jesus, it's hilarious.
Absolutely. That's what I picture.
So I got to let my hair grow out, get some sandals.
No, you're perfect the way you are. It's just a great show. It's entertaining. I love how you take it and you just let it become whatever it is. That's awesome.
So a couple of questions that you might be familiar with as we wrap up. What's something you've changed your mind about recently?
Changed your mind about recently? I don't know. That's a good question. Changed my mind. You know what? I don't know if I can grasp it in my vast brain is spinning around. Not that I'm smart, but just all these ideas. There was something I thought about the other day that I changed my mind just about a philosophy of life or with raising the kids or something. I forget what it was. Gosh, you know what? I'm not going to be able to remember it. Okay. If you have an hour, maybe I'll call you back. Oh,
no, just think about it, and we can come back to it if something does come up. What's the one most misunderstood thing about you?
I think I have this look of like this head crusher maybe because I have bald head, tattoos. So people see me the first impression is, and a lot of times I'm not smiling. Usually I'm into my own headspace. And so I'm just I'm a people watcher. So I won't be, I'll just be looking at people. So I might look angry. And I'm not, I just, when I see people, if I make eye contact, we go talk, they get to know me. They know, oh, he's a nice sweetheart. He's a teddy bear. So that's misunderstood, I guess, that just, that preconceived notions that people give once you see someone. So.
And how has your approach to parenting changed over the years?
I've definitely relaxed a little bit. And I knew that going into it. Like, so when my kids were young, I was very strict. I knew I had the mindset where I knew these little beings are like clay and they are going to be what I help make them be. I mean, I'm not in control of everything, they're God's creation or whatever, but so they have their own things that are part of them. But as growing into little humans, we as parents have to take part of that, and it's hard work.
Yeah.
So I knew that from day one, especially with martial arts too. And actually, when I raised them, they were in my karate school when they were little, and they knew how to, yes sir, yes ma'am. They always answered. We take them to the restaurant even as infants. I mean, people would come up, oh my gosh, your family's so well behaved. And it was these older people, and I was like, oh, thank you so much. And it wasn't anything special. It's just I knew for whatever reason I kind of had the right mindset. I don't think I'm any special thing in parenting, but I kind of knew going into it that, when the little child goes to touch the electric plug, don't, or even smack the hand, whatever, they know not to do that. And then it becomes, I don't have to hit them. I just go, I give them a look and they stop. It's even just like a pet, you just go, and they sit, same thing. It really, it's in training them up as a little one. You don't just let them run around like an animal. Oh, it makes me mental. Don't even get me started about that. You have to be, especially when they're little. As they get older, it's different. They become teenagers. You be there more emotionally for them. You back off on the strictness. You still with all the electronics. You try not to. You try to be very aware of that and what they're doing online stuff and be in control of that. But as far as just growing and becoming their own person, you got to back off and let them grow. And I've definitely learned that. I mean, I wouldn't want my kids dating my girls until they were 18. I said, listen, I'll let you when you're 18, but I don't want you to date until you have your own career and you move out and don't even mess with boys, that kind of thing. And then I gave in with my oldest daughter. She came to me when she was 16. No, please, just let us. I said, listen, you can go out as friends. You have a group, one-on-one, because I know how I was as a boy. I was a madman. So I'm like, no, I know boys are evil, and then the other ones I backed off. It was funny. As they got older, I learned and grew and learned to just, what? Hey, I trained them up as children. Yeah. They know how to be respectful. They know right from wrong. And now I just have to let them, I have to back off and let them do their own thing.
You got to let them leave the nest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, thank you, because you just answered the first question.
Did I? Good. Awesome. See that? How that works? You're good.
So thanks again for sharing your time, David. I'm so excited we got the chance to talk. Like I said, I didn't know where this was going, and I just love being pleasantly surprised. And now slightly annoyed that I have another podcast to add to my queue, or one or two, because Ark City seems like I got a deep dive into that to get the full story.
You'll be happy to know, though, they're real short. Like 10 minutes, 5. The episodes are quick, so it's not bad.
That's good. So, where's the best place for folks to track you down?
What I mean, the easiest thing is the Steele Empire website. Okay. So it's STEEL and then E. There's an extra E because that's the family name. Steele and then empire.com. On there, there's links to my Twitter and Facebook. You can find me and talk to me. The Magic and Steele, if you click on it, there's podcasts that we have. It'll have the link to Magic and Steele website. It'll have the link to Ark City website. So that's the easiest spot, where you can find all those other links.
And they get to see the picture of your worldwide headquarters.
Oh, yes, which changes every time you log into it. There's a couple of them. I have a big, nice high-rise mirrored building. I have a kind of a wood one. Yeah, it's my graphics ability.
They look really good. I was very convincing.
It looks real. That's my headquarters. Yes, HQ.
That's nice. Very cool. Well, we'll invite folks to go to the website, if only to see the photo of your worldwide headquarters.
Yeah, let me know if you want it. I'll send you the originals. You can put your own name on them.
Well, I'm sure you give tours, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Virtual tours.
All right. Thanks again. And I'm looking forward to connecting again. You're going to be at, Podcast Move and then MapCon again. And so
yes, sir.
I'm sure we'll be running into each other pretty soon.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks again to David for introducing us to the world of role-playing games. I remember playing Dungeons and Dragons when I was younger with my younger brother. I was really fascinated by it and the idea of using your mind creatively and imaginatively to paint pictures and all these things that we see now in Game of Thrones. I mean, there were dungeon masters doing that decades ago now, and it's been interesting. I think maybe at some point when I find some time, I'd love to probably jump into a D&D game or maybe even join David on his podcast. That would be pretty interesting. Intro and outro music composed by Cedar and Soil, cedarsoil.com for all the information there. We are a proud member of Podcastica, podcastica.com for the list of shows. Please don't forget to support our episode sponsor, Podbean, at podbean.com/podcastjunkies. I've got a doozy of an episode next week for you. It is the one and only Cliff Ravenscraft. This is another, these are coming pretty frequently now. I've had a great conversation with Pat Flynn, and that was important because of where I met him in my podcasting journey. And Cliff is actually the origin story. Cliff was the session that I saw at NMX in January 2014 that really got this whole thing started. So obviously we talk about that. He was very generous to give me a full hour of his time, and it just flies by. I really am really excited. That's going to be episode 155. Next episode is going to be with Cliff Ravenscraft. Please make sure you tune into that. That's a very special episode for podcast junkies. If you made it this far, you no doubt qualify for the retention hashtag. This week, it's Voice of David in honor of the work he does with voiceovers. So it's hashtag Voice of David, one word, and you can tag him at David O. Steele. So that's @ David O. Steele, Steele. Make sure you get that last E at the end. And we are at podcast_junkies. Thanks again for all you do to support the show. I really love you guys, and I love the feedback I'm getting on a regular basis. Take care.